Hello everyone, I'm Nehal, and in today's class we are going to discuss the topic the making of the Constitution of India. So let's start the topic. Well, every day in and day out, we hear the people in this country referring to our Constitution, be it parliamentary discussions or political debate, court proceedings or primetime shows, it's always there. The question that comes into our mind is what is Constitution and how the Constitution of India came into existence. Who were the people that framed it? And most importantly, how they arrived at various decisions. I think as an Indian, we all must know it, and I tell you, it's a fascinating story. Let us first start with the word constitution. Now, what is a constitution? A constitution is a legal document containing fundamental laws necessary for governing a state. It lays down the structure, function, and powers of different organs of the state and also prescribes the manner and extent in which the sovereign power is exercised. An action of the state would be considered invalid if it violates the provision of the Constitution. Well, the Constitution of India is the supreme law of India. It lays down the framework that demarcates fundamental political code, structure, procedures, powers, and duties of government institution, and sets out fundamental rights, directive principles, and duties of citizen. Let me add that our constitution is not just a simple legal document. It rather demonstrates our ethos, our morality, our culture, our rich heritage, and above all, our unity in diversity. In the constitutional history of India, the Regulating Act of 1773 is considered to be the first written document. However, the Government of India Act 1935 is called the blueprint of the Indian Constitution. When the British decided to leave India, they wanted the Indians to frame their own constitution. So the British government sent a cabinet mission in 1946 to facilitate the transition of power from the British to Indian leadership. The three-member cabinet mission was headed by Lord Pethick Lawrence, who was then the Secretary of State for India, and the other two members were Sir Stafford Cripps and A.V. Alexander. Accordingly, a constituent assembly to frame the Constitution of India was to be set up under the cabinet mission plan. It is important to note that the idea of the Constitution of India was mentioned for the first time by M.N. Roy way back in 1934. The first attempt by India to write a constitution to India was done by a committee headed by Motilal Nehru, which is known as Nehru Report. The cabinet mission proposed to set up a constituent assembly for framing the constitution, and the members of the assembly were to be chosen by indirect election by the legislatures of various provinces. Some members were also to be nominated by the rulers of the princely states. As far as the composition is concerned, the total membership of the assembly was to be 389, of which 292 members to be elected through provincial legislative assemblies, and the Indian princely states could also nominate their representatives, and the number of seats for them was 93. Again, 4 members from the chief commissioner provinces were to be selected. However, due to the partition of the Mountbatten Plan, a separate constituent assembly was set up for Pakistan, and as a result, the membership of our constituent assembly got reduced to 299. Of these 299 members, only 229 were to be chosen from British provinces and 17 were nominated from the princely states. The Constituent Assembly that framed the Constitution had its first meeting on 9 December 1946. On its inaugural session, Dr. Sachidanand Sinha, who was the senior most among the members, was chosen to preside over the meeting. Later on, 11 December 1946, Dr. Rajendra Prasad was elected as the president and Harendra Kumar Mukherjee was elected as the vice president of the Constituent Assembly. B.N. Rao was appointed as the constitutional advisor to the Assembly. Dr. Bhimrao Ambedkar was selected as the chairman of the drafting committee. The drafting committee, which consisted of 7 members under the chairmanship of Dr. Ambedkar, was the most important committee among the 22 committees that the Constituent Assembly had. The drafting committee took 2 years, 11 months, and 18 days to frame the Constitution. It held 11 sessions in total 165 days. The Constitution was adopted on 26 November 1949, which is celebrated as Constitution Day or Samvidhan Divas. The Constitution came to be called the Constitution of India as laid down in Article 393 in Part 22, which reads as, "The Constitution may be called the Constitution of India." The new constitution was signed by 284 members in their last meeting on 24th January 1950. The constitution came into force with effect from January 26, 1950, and this day is celebrated as Republic Day. Well, January 26 was chosen for the promulgation of the constitution because since 1929, the Indian National Congress has been celebrating this day as Purna Swaraj or Independence Day. The Constitution of India originally contained 22 parts, 395 articles and 8 schedules. Now, in present time, it contains 25 parts, 448 articles and 12 schedules. Till date, there has been 106 amendments. Now, one important thing to note, the printed version of the Constitution that are sold in the market or that we see generally is not a replica of the original Constitution. The original Constitution is a handwritten manuscript composed both in Hindi and English and also adorned with several illustrations. Shri Prem Bihari Raizada calligraphed the English version while Shri Vasant Krishan Vaidya composed the Hindi version. Shri Nandlal Bose and his team created 22 illustrations which depict scenes from the period of Mohenjo-daro, the Vedas, the empire of Mauryas and the Guptas and the Mughal, right coming to the first battle of independence, that is the mutiny of 1857. And in between, there are also the stories of Ramayana and Mahabharata. These 22 illustrations, blended with history, mythology, and geography, reflect the culture and ethos of our country, which is also considered the foundation to Indian Republic. Before I sign off, I'm going to leave you with the photographs of 22 illustrations that have been used in the Constitution of India.